Good morning. This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi. He's in his formal wear today because as a Corgi, he finds it only fitting to dress up at the loss of Prince Philip and impress the Queen with his beautiful, handsome Corgi self. So, and for the horse world, the loss of Prince Philip is a big deal because he is well known for popularizing the sport of combined driving, which was based on the sport of three-day eventing, so that you had three phases: dressage in the ring, cross-country jumping, and then stadium jumping for precise jumping. So they have a similar thing with driving, which can be with one horse, two horses, or four. And believe me, the cross-country driving is one of the most dangerous horse sports, because the carriages have to be behind four horses running down rocky hills and through streams and around tight turns and backing through things. It's a very difficult sport. And he loved it and was good at it and loved breeding horses to do that sport. So he also was a champion of all horse sports. And so the horse world is really, he served on the Olympic committees several years for the horse sports. It's a big loss to the horse community, although he has pretty much been retired from those things. But the Corgis will miss him, and I'm sure the Queen is happy. She had a time there with no Corgis, and now she has two puppies. So I'm sure those puppies are a great comfort right now without Prince Philip. I mean, they've been together like her whole life. It's a very significant relationship to lose like that. So I'm sure she's carrying on. And I have new glasses, as you can see. And today we want to talk about something that is coming up because of the time of year, which is this idea of oral tick and flea medications for your dogs. People panic, they don't remember, their vet tells them something, and so every year at this time, we start to see dogs with health problems related to NexGard and Brevecto. And these are oral medications that you give your dog monthly or every 3 months, and it makes them basically toxic so that when the fleas and ticks are on them and bite them, they die. Now, a much better alternative to these two toxic things is Cedarcide. That's Cedarcide. They make a spray. Cedar spray kills ticks, which one of my neighbors said was kind of interesting because she noticed near what she thought were cedar bushes when she was a child, there were tons of ticks. But ticks do like arbor vitae and many related species, so it is possible that they were not crawling on the cedar, or if they were, they might have been dying. But I have seen ticks crawling on dogs across Cedarside and watch them just kind of get X's in their eyes and keel over, so I know it works. And you might have to, if you live by the beach or in an area like Connecticut, you might have to spray them every time you take them out for a walk. Cedarside makes products to spray in your yard. In fact, last year I hired a company to come here and spray my entire yard. I don't know, I think it was $150 a spray with cedar to kill the ticks and the mosquitoes. That's really what they do, is for mosquitoes. And I thought that it would repel the slithery things, but it did not seem to do anything to deter them. So I'm on the fence about having them back because it amounts to over $1,000 a year. And with the bonus of repelling the slithery things, that was cheap. But just for ticks, when I can mow and spray the yard myself, I'm not so sure. Anyway, so Cedarcide is what you want to get. Now, there is even a Facebook page called Brevecto Kills Dogs. You can check it out. Tons of testimonials there about people who gave this to their dogs. What happened to a dog I know, and it's common at this time of year, you go into the vet, maybe it's your checkup or whatever, but they come home with HeartGard and NexGard. And then they give both pills to a dog on a Sunday before the week of work and then wonder why the dog is throwing up, having diarrhea, maybe having seizures. To give the HeartGard, which is ivermectin, which we've used for years to deworm horses, on the same day as one of these oral tick and flea meds is just really, really hard on your dogs. And the smaller the dog and certain breeds, the more problems you're going to have. So the Cedarcide works to repel mosquitoes as well. So unless you live in you know, a marshy area in the south, there's not that many mosquitoes with your dog that the cedar won't repel. And I haven't used HeartGuard in years and years and years. I think I only use it when I'm going to the Cape in July, if I think Tristan will be outside in those hours of day when it's twilight and there's a lot of mosquitoes. Now, it's pretty windy where I go. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a mosquito, but you know, if I happen to be in a marshy area, there's going to be plenty of them. So I love Cedarside because it does kill ticks. It's great for fleas. It repels a lot of, you know, any kind of critter. If you spray it around your house, it will repel and kill spiders and everything else. So, and a lot of people love how it smells. It smells a little hamster cagey to me. So for Tristan right now, when they're not that bad, I've been using the Kin & Kind spray for flea and tick repellent. And that does repel some of the flying critters as well. I know your ear's getting a little squished, huh? So I've been happy with the Kin & Kind, and I like how it smells. Tristan just had a bath a couple days ago, and the Kin & Kind flea and tick repellent has actually made his coat even silkier and softer and nicer. It really is a fine product. So between those two things, I mean, I do use, what is it? Rose geranium oil also, if it gets to be really bad. Rose geranium oil really repels everything. I get mine from Eden's Garden. A lot of places don't have it, but it has to be rose geranium. It's different from geranium or rose. Rose is very expensive, difficult to make, so you certainly don't want to be using that for repellent because it doesn't work, but rose geranium does. And I kind of like how it smells, and that I apply just like I would Frontline or something. I put a couple of drops down his back. That works when things are really bad. That's what I use. So please, please, please think twice about giving your dog any of these oral medications for fleas and ticks. Now, like everything, it's a little complicated. It's not so black and white as never, ever, ever, ever give your dog these things. Because, for instance, there's a little dog that used to live near me. She's black. Hard to find ticks on her. And they live in a very wooded area. There's like literally a 10 by 12 area of the yard that is not leaf litter and trees. And there's no grass that's mowed there or anything. So it's very easy for that dog to be in ticks because they say apparently they love leaf litter. I've not found that to be particularly true, but they apparently do love leaf litter. And it's because they can hide in the cool parts of the leaf litter during the night or the day when it's really hot, and then come out and sit on the ends and look for passersby for a meal. So in the case of that dog, she was just sitting around the house and collapsed one day. Ran her to the emergency room. She was having seizures, and she had so many ticks on her. She had Lyme disease, she had Ehrlichia, she had anaplasmosis. She needed a blood transfusion. This was a very sick dog, and the people just didn't know. There was also, to their benefit, a lot of shifting family stuff going on, a divorce, things like that at the same time. So in that case, the vet where they brought the dog did give her NexGard, I think, to try to keep the ticks off of her because, you know, clearly the people were unaware and not able to manage that. And given where they lived, if you're not really managing it, you've got a big problem. There were kids that were letting the dog out and the parents didn't know. I mean, it's a whole thing. So in that case, yeah, you might need to use it, but watch your dog closely. You might give him only half of the pill. This dog weighed 15 pounds. You know, and a lot of the pills have a range that go from like 5 pounds to 30 pounds. So you know, if I had to use it in that situation, I would be very cautious and be careful how I use it and watch the dog closely. And actually that was pretty sharp because the dog, I think, whatever one lasts 3 months, maybe it was Bravecto they gave her, she did nothing to manage fleas and ticks for the rest of the year. And sure enough, in the summer, a year later, like in May or June, the dog had a tick that the person noticed, and the tick was dead on the dog. And the person asked me, you know, what's that mean? And, you know, I think it's the Bravecto still working a year later. It's that toxic. And it was a terrier breed. Some of them don't do well. They have seizures from some of these meds. But clearly, the vet who gave this to the dog knew that it would be difficult for the people to manage the flea and tick situation otherwise. So in that case, yeah, I don't know that I would disagree, but it really is toxic to give these things to your dogs, and to give it on the same day as Heartgard, really a mistake. And then to do it on a Sunday when you're going to work the next day, your poor dog. I mean, do it on a weekend when you're home so that you can really monitor the dog. But recently a dog I know had diarrhea and vomiting for a solid 7 days after, I believe it was NexGard that dog had. And the person kept thinking, oh, he got into something, whatever, but he wasn't getting better. And he was a little ataxic. I mean, there were a lot of things going on with that dog. And when the person brought the dog to the vet and they didn't send him home saying pancreatitis, they said gastritis, that's when I thought there is something going on. Because if they eat something, it's almost always pancreatitis. And the dog's on a kind of a good diet, sometimes not so good diet. So that was another thing to think about. So anyway, do think carefully about what you're going to do with flea and tick season, because it is upon us. I recommend Cedar Side and Kin & Kind flea and tick spray. Great products that smell good, good for your coat, and also really good to repel those vermin out there. And Tristan, are we going to watch the funeral this weekend? He says, I might have to wear my top hat for the funeral, but really, Mom, it squeezes my ears. All right, thanks for joining us today. I hope that there are no ticks and fleas in your life. And also with the Heartgard, think about, how many mosquitoes are in your area. Of course, if you're in the South, you want to give it to your dog, but you might take some time off in the winter. In the Northeast, for a while, I was giving it only to my dogs July, June, and August. And I realized at some point that I didn't even need to do that except when I'm out of the area for an extended period of time where there may be mosquitoes. So, thanks for joining us today. Everybody have a wonderful week with your dog. Sorry we weren't here last week. We had extra days of my educator job. But we will be back next Tuesday for sure. Thanks for joining us. Everybody have a great day, a great day and a great dog. And keep your dogs safe. Don't give them things that you don't think about first. Okay, thanks for joining us.